Hey, welcome to the First Lady Point of View show, everyone. I am your host, the First Lady Felicia K. This is where you can expect culture, music, news, reviews, fashion, and exclusive interviews. So stick around. We got a very special guest in the building with an exclusive that you don't want to miss right after this.
You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. Culture, music, news, reviews. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. First Lady Point of View. It's the First Lady Point of View. Tapped in, yeah, we always on time. First Lady Felicia K on the line. Wanna know what's poppin'? Tap in for the scoop. On all the hot topics. The latest fashion, new music reviews. The hottest artists and exclusive interviews. You came to the right spot. First Lady on deck, keep it locked. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. Culture, music, news, reviews. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. First Lady Point of View.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. We got a very special guest in the building, so I'm not going to hold you. We're going to get right into the scoop of things with none other than Miss Jade Stevens.
Hello.
She is out here from Los Angeles, California, correct?
That's right.
And you are the executive director and co-founder of 40 Acres.
That's right.
Okay, first and foremost, we're going to tell everybody where you're from originally.
Well, I'm actually from Moreno Valley, which
Okay.
is in the Inland Empire area. Most people know it either being about like an hour from Riverside or
Okay.
I guess another hour to San Bernardino. But
Okay.
that's where I grew up. I moved to Los Angeles to go to college, and I've been in LA ever since.
Okay, how you like it out there?
I mean, it's great. I haven't left.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I've always dreamed about going to LA because my background is actually in marketing. And so I wanted to get as close to the entertainment capital of the world and look for opportunities. And I thought that by going to schools that were nearby would give me the best chance at getting that opportunity.
So now that brings me to the next question. What inspired you to start 40 Acres?
Yeah, so I'd say that separate from marketing, land has always been a part of my family. So on my father's side, they have grown up in Louisiana, Shreveport, Haynesville, if you've heard of it. And we have about 10 acres of land that the family owns in Shreveport. And every year we have a family reunion that happens on Mother's Day. And I remember the first time that I went as a little girl, my dad told me that by just being a part of the family, I'm part owner in the acres that are there in terms of the land. And he said with that, it comes responsibility where you have to do your part to maintain it, make sure that we are really doing our best to take care of it. But when it comes down to things, never sell. Never sell the land. And I know we've all heard this in our family, especially in Black families.
Absolutely. I already know where you're going.
Right,
Go ahead.
great-grandparents passing it down to my father and moving on. And so I understood that not only was it important for us to keep land in our family, but the reason behind that is land ownership gives you so many opportunities, from generational wealth, independence, and just opportunities to explore more things. And so that idea is what kind of fueled my idea for what the 40 Acre Conservation League could be. We know that in Black families, Black ownership, we had so much land, decades, hundreds of years ago, but now it's dwindling down to like a fraction.
Yes,
and
scarce.
so what are we losing, right? Generational wealth. And I found that not only can we look at it through home ownership, but through land trusts, you can own land as well. And so that is what fueled the idea of the 40 Acre Conservation League early on, so that we can use land to create more opportunities for communities to succeed.
Okay. So tell everybody exactly what is 40 Acres.
So the 40 Acre Conservation League is the California's first Black-led land trust, and possibly in the nation. We are responsible for managing and conserving land throughout California, but we also prioritize increasing public access. where we define that by this vision of outdoors for all. How can we get more people to experience and appreciate nature? And that is literally our job, being land stewards of managing the land that we have and finding new ways to get, what I like to say, environmentally curious people more comfortable to go outside.
Yeah. So now this is going to be kind of, I don't know, I'm going to ask anyway though. Do you find that you don't see enough women or individuals in general that look like us in the field?
In the field of conservation?
Yes, absolutely.
I would say that in terms of leadership, you don't see as many Black leaders, but the reality behind people doing the work in California, not so much. It's very limited. But across the country, I mean, there are people that are exploring careers in forestry, ecology, land management, and it looks differently. So I'd say there is definitely room to grow. Definitely room to grow. But there are some.
Yeah. Well, some is better than none, right?
But we have a ways to go.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this?
So we'll be celebrating 5 years in September.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, an idea of turning acquiring land, creating the land trust into what it is today was something that we dreamed about in terms of my board. And I think every year is like a new chapter to how we kind of bring this vision to life. So been 5 years of managing land and doing this work.
Oh, wow. So now, how would somebody get involved? What did you do to start this? Did you just say, you know what? Did you just pull the trigger? I want to do it. Okay.
I wish I could say I just pulled the trigger and we're just going to do it.
Yeah. It was a process, I'm sure.
It was a process,
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that what we spent a lot of time in the early days of the creation of 40 Acre Conservation League was securing the first amount of funding that would be needed to acquire land. So our first acquisition was in 2023, but we actually closed escrow in 24. We secured $3 million to acquire our first site, which is 650 acres of land.
Wow.
And the process of those first 2.5 years required a lot of meetings, pitching ideas, getting community partners on board to just kind of understand what that is. The term land trust is something that people are still trying to define. And so when we were saying, hey, the opportunity to expand access to everyone can be realized through a land trust, people were like, okay, what is this? What are you talking about? So that first 2.5 years kind of generated those types of conversations. And then when we closed and got that first piece of land, which is it's about an hour from Sacramento in an area called Immigrant Gap. We had to do a lot of work to kind of show this vision of how do we make two things exist? How do we, as land stewards, do our part to protect that area, which is in forest land? It's in the Sierra Nevada mountains for context. How do we do the work of making the forest healthy, because California is known for wildfire, so that's our first priority. How do we make that area safe for everyone and reducing the spread of wildfire? But then how do we create a space to bring more community out, to enjoy outdoor activities? And that took a long time, but we were prepared. We knew that this was going to be what I'd say a very satisfying journey for me as we kind of figured out what is going to get people to come outside and what do we need to do to make both things happen. But it was just a long journey, and it still continues to grow. But that was that was essentially is the beginning of how we got it going.
Okay, so you said something about a tour before we went on air. Do you take group tours with like youth or adults or a mixture of both? Like what does that look like?
So in terms of expanding access, that really relies on getting people comfortable with nature. There's a myth that certain people don't belong outside, by whatever that means. But what we found is when people say, hey, like, let's go camping, that word, when people are visualizing it, creates this like spectrum of thoughts where you might think of camping as, oh, I just want to escape in the forest, get a tent, look under the stars, have a sleeping bag. But then there are people who are on this other side where they're like, oh no, I thought there were cabins. I thought we were glamping. I thought we were going to have some structures and I had Wi-Fi and I can plug my phone in. And then when I choose to go outside, I'll go. But I want to come inside at some point while I'm in nature. And so I think that whole like thought process tells me that people just need a little bit more information. They need more, I'd say, like guided tours to help people kind of understand what it means to go out into nature. And so the community tours are things that we host regularly throughout the year for youth, for adults, people in urban areas, because there's just a need for more familiarity to get people comfortable to go outside, right? Yeah. To give you a visual of what the site looks like, it's pretty much raw, untouched land. So there's no trails that have been paved yet. There's no roads. It's open forest land, roads that are dirt, that are, graded enough for you to walk along. And so when we had our first group of kids coming out, we were like, get ready. We're going to be out in the wilderness. We're going to show you around. They're showing up in basketball shorts, Jordans, beanies, like things that would not prepare you for going on a hike. Right. And so we want to meet people where they are. So if that's how you show up the first time, that's cool. But what we're trying to educate more people on is like, how do you be safe? How do you prepare for a type of tour of going into the forest? What does that look like? And so these tours kind of vary based on the group's experience and comfortability. And we welcome everyone to just kind of show them, how can you be safe? What do we have coming in terms of creating this public park and nature center for people to benefit from? And what do you need to do to make sure that you're as safe as possible for not only yourself, but how do you exist in an area where there are animals, right? There are coyotes, bears.
When you said safe, I was going to say, now what do we mean safe? Like, so you preparing them for wildlife and all that?
So through our community partners, they are essentially giving them the tools and training so that when they come on site, they already have an idea of what they're getting into. Okay. And so those tours have drawn people out from LA, from Reno, Las Vegas, people even in the Bay who have been looking for experiences like this, where they're like, if I had a guide that looks like me, if I had someone that would just tell me what I need to prepare for before I go out there, I would be more willing to go on a hike. I would be more willing to try these things. But when you're kind of just jumping in the deep end and going on what would be considered an advanced hike or an advanced camping trip, that can really be intimidating for someone.
And so risky,
so the partners that we're working with, we're using our site to create more opportunities like that so that they feel more comfortable and confident.
Okay, so now have you ever encountered any wildlife?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yes. So we have animal monitoring cameras on the site. So I'm always looking for things that make me excited. But like there are deer that is on the property. Yes, there are bears that are on the property. I was just on the site yesterday and we saw some droppings that let us know there's a bear in the area. Plenty of different birds.
What about snakes?
I haven't seen snakes. That doesn't mean that they're not there. I saw some lizards kind of hanging out because of the heat. It was like 90 degrees up there yesterday. So they're all there. But I think the important point is that I think as long as you're safe and you understand how to act in a situation like that,
you'll be okay.
You'll be okay. And I always say, I'm like, the bear is not sitting there around the corner waiting to like pounce out. He's probably trying to get away from you. The deer is probably trying to get away from you. And so just that fear that you might think of when you're going into the forest just needs a conversation like this. Like, what can you do to protect yourself? And knowing that, if you're not comfortable, don't go alone. Having an expert with you makes it easier.
Is it true that wildlife can sense fear off of you?
I think that certain species certainly can. And I think that statement means if you're scared, I'm scared too. So if what do we say? Like, when you run, I'm gonna run that way too. It's the same situation. If you're not running, there's no problem.
We good.
Like we're good. But when you tense up, I do think that certain animal species might recognize that. And so being able to remain calm and being able to kind of dominate the situation is a part of it. But just being mindful that most of the time that they're not really trying to bother you.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to get into some more right after this break. We got none other than Jade Stevens in the building, and I'm so excited. I'm learning about wildlife and nature and all of the things. And you can too by watching this episode when we come back after this.
Access Sacramento presents the 26th Annual Place Called Sacramento Film Festival, premiering 10 local films. Access Sacramento's 26th Annual A Place Called Sacramento Film Festival, Friday, October 16, 2026 at the Crest Theater. Tickets are only $30. Scan the QR code to get your tickets.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. If you're just now tuning in, we got the lovely Jade Stevens in the building, and she's telling us all about her organization and how you could get involved. And I've been asking her some questions about wildlife, and I want to get into her about that glamping thing. That probably would be something that I would do. Now, what is that all about? That's the people that kind of want to camp, but then we too prissy to do it? Is that what that means?
Preferences.
Okay.
We got preferences.
Got you.
And there's space for all of that, right? And so there's what I would say personal observations, but a lot of studies say that for communities of color, in terms of wanting to go outside, there have been past experiences that have created almost a list of needs for them to feel comfortable to go outside. And so facilities, right? Having a secure facility is a big part of what communities of color need to go outside. So that could look like a cabin, that could look like a nature center or a structure. Security and safety, right? We were talking about wildlife, but even just the sense of being alone in the forest,
right.
People often forget that your service may not work as well. So who are you gonna call when you don't have service? So knowing there are, in certain cases, rangers, or on our site when we introduced Gateway Park, having people around to support you when that's needed, those are things that people prioritize when it comes to going outside. Having groups that look like them, providing training to help people to feel more comfortable and prepared to respond to situations, that's all a part of what we took into account. And when you say glamping, I won't say that we're creating a glamping experience, but the goal in a few years is to develop Gateway Park on our site, which will be essentially like an opening for people to, a front door, if you will, to get people to come outside, kind of take into the amenities that we know will make people feel comfortable. So that includes a nature center, a huge one, by the way, 13,000 square feet. That will be the central hub for people to rent equipment, participate in workshops, go on guided tours. But in addition to that, we'll have cabins and tree houses on the site for people to stay overnight.
Oh, cool.
And we also have a lake that I didn't share earlier, but a lake that's right next to the nature center for people to kayak, fish, and play around in the lake. And so all of that is there for them to build comfort in when it comes to the outside. Now, we're neighbors to the Tahoe National Forest, and so that's intentional. We wanted to choose places that are right next to national forests where you can essentially stay at Gateway Park and stay in our cabin or treehouse, go on tours, hike, and stay there if you want to. But eventually you'll be more comfortable because you've been there enough, and the trails that we have that start at Gateway Park will connect to Tahoe Forest, and so you can go and explore more. So you might think you want a more structured experience when it comes to nature, but eventually if you want to camp under the stars, you'll feel confident and prepared enough to do that in the forest that's right next door.
Okay, now Gateway Park, let's get into that a little bit more. What does that look like to you 5 years from now?
So to me, Gateway Park is in an area, Placer County, that is really growing in terms of tourism. And it's because people know about Lake Tahoe. That's like the gym that people love to go to. But people are saying, what else is out there? Like, this is beautiful. And we'd actually like more recreational opportunities to explore. And so Gateway Park is responding to that request of just having more opportunities. In Placer County, the city that we're at, again, is Immigrant Gap. That place is beautiful in the winter. I mean, honestly, year round, there's so much you can do. And so we've heard from residents that not only do they want more opportunities to like hike, camp, and go, but for snow, for example, when it snows in the winter, there's really not many snow parks around there other than Lake Tahoe. So they love the idea of us opening that area for people to go out and have a snow day. We did one earlier this winter, winter/spring, where we had people come out, and all we heard was, it was the first time my daughter got to build a snowball out here because we'd either have to stay here in Sacramento or drive all the way to Lake Tahoe, which usually is booked out. So we just don't have as many options. So Gateway Park is just responding to the need for more parks, more outdoor opportunities, and that's what 5 years is telling us, that people want more things to do out there.
So do you plan to expand outside of California eventually?
So
Well, that's close. Would that be? No, that's still California, right?
it is in California.
Where you are, yeah, it's just, okay, it's going towards Nevada though. Okay.
So to date, I told you we started with 650 acres of land.
Okay.
We now manage over 800 acres of land. So a part of the land is in that area that's about an hour from Sacramento. We recently acquired an additional 100 acres in Calaveras County. So people who are familiar with Stockton, it's about an hour from there, and we're preparing to do something in Southern California, so people can get ready for a experience in the desert, if you will. So we're statewide now, and as this model that we're talking about, Gateway Park, creating more opportunities for people to experience nature, as we continue to show the success of it, yeah, eventually it will go nationwide as we continue to expand.
I think it should. I could see it being like in Utah and Portland, like places when you mentioned the snow, right?
Right.
Because usually you have designated areas in these places that have been there for centuries, and it is oversaturated. We grew up going to Tahoe. My mom and my parents and my grandparents would take us out as kids. Yeah, I was teasing when I said glamping because now that I'm older, I feel like that's like a luxury now. But growing up, I was putting worms on the hook. My grandparents, we got all of that. Yeah, but my family's originally from Georgia, so I'm definitely familiar with being outside and in the wilderness and stuff, and appreciating it,
And that's important. I will say that we think that it's possible for people to experience nature, but also understand what it takes to manage it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So,
that's why I said the older I get, I want to be on the glamping side.
Yeah, but that's the model, right? Like whether you do it yourself or you're supporting the teams that do it, like this model is getting people outside, but they'll see my team out there doing what's called fuel reduction work, where they're making sure that they're removing dry brush, removing any type of what's called like chaparral that would go towards a potential wildfire, right?
Okay.
The park itself will help kind of maintain and fund the work that we're doing to keep the forest healthy and safe for everyone.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me a little bit about some of the biggest challenges that you faced thus far, being an executive director for something so, first of all, this is groundbreaking. This is new territory as far as for someone that looks like us, right?
Yeah.
You're young, you're a woman, and you're a Black woman. So what has been some of the realistic challenges you feel like sharing with us that you've had to face?
Yeah, I mean, I think for all those ways that you identified me brings suspicion. And what it tells me is that, kind of like an investor, do you want to invest in the newest person in the scene that has no track record of succeeding on a project? Or is it a safer investment to work with another org that's been in the game for 5, 10, 20 plus years? Right. Most people want their money back, so they're comfortable investing in more mature organizations. But what puts at risk is new ideas, new opportunities. We start to see the same models replicated because you keep funding the same things.
Individuals.
So the challenges that we deal with are what we think to be a pretty straightforward idea sounds a little hard to believe in the beginning because we're 5 years, we're young. And so I think the challenges have been, well, how do we know it's going to work? How do we know that you're going to be the one to get more people to come outside? How do we know that these things can work together of being at the core a land trust that is meant to manage land? How do we know that these will work together? And so those challenges have shown up in just different questions. We're a nonprofit, so we always are actively going for funding. So that looks like denied applications, denied funding, delayed projects, just because essentially what people aren't sure of is, are you going to succeed? Yeah. And so when we get 10 years, we'll be the mature organization where they're like, oh yeah, 40 Acre Conservation League, they've done Gateway Park and Immigrant Gap. They just did something by Stockton. They did something in the desert. Most people will feel more comfortable then. But the challenge is who's going to be the first one to support now?
Right, right.
And so that's always an ongoing conversation.
Yeah. Do you sometimes get frustrated, like, what did I take on here? This might be a little bit bigger than me.
No, I don't think that I'm frustrated. I think it is maybe a weird sense of excitement where I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't say it the way that you needed to hear it, because how we're talking today was not how we were talking about the project early on. That comes from just like learning about it, right? Like we didn't know what we didn't know. And so talking about all the benefits, talking about what this project will do for everyone is something that came with the hustle, like the struggle and the journey, right? Like I'm literally in the weeds doing the work of building this organization and working with my team. So we talk regularly about these things. It's never been new information, but maybe I, as the executive director, didn't share it the right way for who needed to hear it. And so to me, I guess because of my background in PR and storytelling, it's like, how do I continue to like refresh this vision that has always been straight, but it's like, maybe you didn't see it the way that I did. And so that's the storytelling part. I'll say
just, I probably figuring the individual out so you can speak their language.
Yeah,
basically.
to make sure you understand.
Yeah. Everybody is different.
It is,
You receive it different.
Yes.
This is so exciting. Now, I do want to correct myself because I've been saying 40 acres and I'm leaving off the Conservation League, right? And I want to make that clear. It's 40 Acres Conservation League, which I'm aware of. I don't know why I'm just so stuck on 40 acres because I just thought that was a neat name that you put that in there. So that's going to be my next question. What made you decide to name it 40 Acres Conservation League?
Yes.
That 40 acres is like stellar to me.
Thank you. I mean, the idea of the 40 Acre Conservation League was inspired by the promise of 40 acres and a mule, where the formerly enslaved people, when they were freed, were promised 40 acres and a mule to allow them to create their own generational wealth. I think most of us know that the end of that story did not play out how they expected. The land that they were promised was taken right back from them and they were left to fend for themselves. And so I think that, understanding how important land ownership was at such a critical time, it reminded me that what we're doing is almost like reimagining what that promise could look like had we fulfilled it. So 40 Acre Conservation League is really paying and honoring that promise that we now have the ability to shift and change.
I love that name. That is so genius.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for that, Queen. Now, looking ahead, what is the legacy you hope that the 40 Acres Conservation League leaves and the message you would like to share and inspire those for making a difference?
Yeah, I think that we have been introduced as being the first to do a lot of things, not just being Black-led, but this model of Gateway Park, being the first to do even some of the forest restoration practices that we're doing to protect the forest. We're the first, but we don't want to be the only, right? So as I think about my legacy of this organization and how we're literally opening doors for others to follow, I hope that eventually we won't be the only ones down the line. And so, I think we're always looking for partners to work together with. We're always open to kind of sharing our thoughts on ways that we can continue to move forward with getting more people outside and helping people understand that there's just different ways. Like, people learn about the environment and the way to protect it and ways to just enjoy it, whether it's through camping, hiking, or whatever. There's a large library of things. Like some of it starts when you're young. Some of it starts when you're a Girl Scout, which I was, by the way. Some people do it later on. 2020 got a lot of people outside. And so for us, we don't necessarily mind how you get into outdoor work or recreation. But once you're in, how do we keep you here? We don't want you to leave. So that's like my main thought of what we want to leave behind.
Okay, now before we wrap, I got one more question that I want to get out there really quick. I want to ask you, as far as, I think I'm going to ask you this. Okay.
Yeah.
What has been the most rewarding as far as what you're doing right now? I was going to ask you that about something else, but I want to say we're going to stick to this. The 40 Acres Conservation League, what has been your most gratifying moment thus far throughout this whole process in this 5-year range?
I don't know if I can just pick one.
You can't just pick one? That's why I was going to ask you that about something else, but I just felt like,
all of the...
You don't have to make it one. Let's say do 3.
Okay. So one happened this year, I think, when we had the snow day and we had a lot of our neighbors that are in Placer County coming out to see the snow for the first time. I kind of hinted at it, but it really stuck with me, where a parent who drove out from a nearby state, I think she was in Lincoln, which is not too far, but she was like, I was looking so forward to bringing my daughter out here, who I think was like 5. Because she's never seen the snow and we just couldn't find a way. Lake Tahoe was too far. for the trip that they were planning. But she was like, you made this possible for me to show my daughter that like it's fun. And so thinking about me personally, when I was doing all these Girl Scout things, like to me, I'm like, wow, we just sparked a future something. I don't know what that is, but if it is as special as the mom was telling me, I'm like, we got to keep doing this because we're now creating memories for people that we don't even realize that we're doing. I think an obvious one for me is the day that we got this acquisition. I think doing years of meetings and pitching the idea to be in the board, because the way it worked is the funding had to be approved by the board, the Wildlife Conservation Board. And so I remember sitting during the board hearing where it was, for me, like pins and needles, because you don't know until it's approved. Looking at a panel of board members kind of reviewing your idea and your project and doing all the work to get to that point, to know that we just need a majority vote. And so hearing every yes, approved, this is now going to happen. I was like, dang, we're really about to get it. We're really about to do this, y'all. So I think like that always is special. I have a photo of like us in the board hearing where we heard from the board member. But I think a lot of the small wins, which I won't get into, that
small
like,
victories
shows,
count. I just did a post about that recently about you got to celebrate those too, right? They're important. Thank you so much, Jay, for being on the show. But I want you to look right here and tell everybody how they can get involved, your social media platforms, and the name of the organization once again. Just so they'll know how to find it and all that good stuff right here on camera.
So hi, my name's Jade Stevens. We are doing great work with Gateway Park that is managed by the 40 Acre Conservation League. If you want to follow our journey and get involved, you can follow us on social at Gateway Park, California. You can also visit our website at 40acreleague.org, and that's 40acreleague.org. And sign up for our newsletter if you want to find ways to volunteer, support, or come out on our next tour.
All right, you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys learned something today. And make sure you guys get involved. Please, please, please do. Get out, touch some grass, play in some snow, take a hike, clean up the forest. So you guys, you know, we do struggle with these fires. And I can't stress that enough. We talked about it with Matt as well, the importance of that. So be mindful, clean up behind yourself, all of that stuff. Until next time, thank you for watching once again. Peace, well, love, may God bless your hustle, and we are out of here. Reach back for those that are coming up behind you and pay homage to those who did it before you. It's free, and you'll feel good about yourself.
You tuned in. It's the First Lady point of view. First Lady point of view. You tuned in. It's the First Lady point of view. First Lady point of view.